In February 2023, Chegg was worth $14 billion. Today, it trades at around 90 million. That is a 99% collapse in 24 months. And the thing that killed it was not a competitor. It was not a scandal. It was a chatbot that can do homework for free. But here is what nobody is saying out loud. Chegg is not the story. Chegg is the warning shot. Because the same pattern that vaporized $14 billion in education is now spreading to tutoring companies, test prep services, coding bootcamps, and an entire category of jobs that most people still think are safe. Welcome back to Zero Index. To understand why Chegg collapsed, you need to understand what Chegg actually was. On paper, it was an education company. In practice, it was a homework answer database with a subscription model. Students paid $15 a month to access step-by-step solutions to millions of textbook problems. The genius of the business was simple. Professors reuse assignments. Textbooks do not change that often. So Chegg built a massive library of answers, hired contractors to solve new problems as they came in, and then sold unlimited access to students who needed to pass their classes. By 2021, they had 8 million subscribers. Revenue was growing 30% year over year. Wall Street loved it. And then on November 30th, 2022, OpenAI released ChatGPT. Within 4 months, Chegg's stock had dropped 48%. By May 2023, their CEO Dan Rosensweig admitted on an earnings call that ChatGPT was cutting into their customer growth. He said the words out loud. Quote, "In the first week of May, we saw a significant spike in student interest in ChatGPT." End quote. That single earnings call wiped $3 billion off Chegg's market cap in one day. But here is what I want to be precise about. The students did not leave Chegg because they suddenly became more ethical about homework. They left because a free tool could do the same thing, faster, with better explanations. And there is a deeper reason this collapse happened so quickly that I will come back to later, because it explains why certain other companies are about to face the exact same problem. What happened to Chegg is a textbook case of what economists call near-perfect substitution. When a new product does almost exactly what the old product does, at a fraction of the cost, the market does not gradually shift. It collapses. And the collapse is faster when the switching cost is low. Think about what it took for a student to switch from Chegg to ChatGPT. No new account setup, no learning curve, no cancellation fees. You just stop paying and start prompting. The entire Chegg user experience was already built around typing a question and getting an answer. ChatGPT does the same thing, except it is free, it is available instantly, and it can explain its reasoning in plain English. For a student trying to finish a problem set at 2 in the morning, the decision is not even close. A former Chegg product manager I spoke with, I will call him David, said that internally, they knew this was coming. Quote, "We had meetings in early 2023 where people were asking what our moat actually was. And nobody had a good answer. The moat was scale. They had millions of solved problems. But generative AI does not need a library of solved problems. It reasons through the problem in real time. Scale stopped being a competitive advantage overnight." Now I want to pause here because this is where most people get the analysis wrong. They look at Chegg and say, well, that was a company built on cheating. Of course it was vulnerable. But that framing misses the point entirely. Because the real vulnerability was not the ethics of the product. It was the structure of the service. Chegg was selling access to knowledge work performed by humans, at scale, on demand, for a predictable task. That is the exact profile that AI replaces fastest. And there are hundreds of companies that fit that same profile, including a lot of them in education. Let me give you a specific example that has not made headlines yet. Varsity Tutors is a company that connects students with human tutors for onion-owned sessions. They charge anywhere from $40 to $80 an hour depending on the subject. In 2023, they started seeing a pattern they had never seen before. Cancellation rates for basic subjects, algebra, intro chemistry, essay feedback, started climbing. Not dramatically, but consistently. 5%, then 8%, then 12% quarter over quarter. A tutor who worked with them, name is Jessica, based in Ohio, told me she went from 15 regular students in early 2023 to 4 by the end of 2024. Her students did not stop needing help. They just started using ChatGPT and Claude for the routine stuff and only came to her when they were truly stuck. Quote, "I used to help kids with homework 3 times a week. Now I see them maybe once a month, right before a test. That is a 75% reduction in demand for a single tutor. And she is not an outlier." Wezant, another tutoring marketplace, reported that session bookings for certain subjects dropped by 30% between 2023 and 2024. They have not disclosed which subjects, but I have spoken with enough tutors to know the pattern. Anything that involves routine problem solving or writing feedback is getting hit hardest. Math homework help. Basic coding. Essay structure. These are the bread and butter services that kept tutoring companies profitable. And they are evaporating. Which brings me to the part 1 promise to come back to, the deeper reason why Chegg collapsed so fast and why tutoring is following the same path. The thing that made Chegg vulnerable, and the thing that makes a lot of EdTech vulnerable, is that they were never selling excellence. They were selling good enough. Good enough to pass. Good enough to finish the assignment. Good enough to get through the class. And good enough is exactly what AI is best at. I want to be precise about this. AI is not better than the best human tutor. A truly great teacher can inspire a student, can recognize when someone is confused in a way they cannot articulate, can adapt their entire approach based on a student's emotional state. AI cannot do that. Not yet. But most students were not paying for that kind of teaching. They were paying for someone to explain the quadratic formula at 11 p.m. And for that task, AI is not just good enough. It is better. It is infinitely patient. It is available instantly. It does not judge. And it is free. This is the pattern that should worry anyone working in education-adjacent services. If your value proposition is availability and adequacy rather than genuine expertise and human connection, you are standing on the same ground Chegg was standing on. And that ground is dissolving. Test prep is next. A Kaplan GRE instructor in New York told me that enrollment in their in-person courses dropped 22% in 2024. Students are using AI to generate practice questions, get instant explanations, and simulate tutoring sessions. The premium tier, the human instructor, is becoming a luxury that fewer students are willing to pay for. Princeton Review is seeing similar patterns. They have started integrating AI into their own offerings, but that just accelerates the commoditization. Once your core service can be replicated by software, adding AI features does not save you. It just speeds up the transition to a world where you are not needed. So let me be specific about which EdTech roles are most at risk in the next 2 years. This is not speculation. This is pattern matching based on what has already happened. First, content developers. These are the people who write explanations, create practice problems, and build curriculum materials. Companies like Coursera, Udemy, and Khan Academy employ hundreds of them. The work they do is exactly the kind of work that large language models can now produce at scale. Not perfectly, but good enough. And remember what we just established about good enough. Second, basic tier tutors. Anyone whose primary value is explaining standard concepts for standard courses. If you are a tutor whose main offering is walking students through textbook material, you are competing with a free tool that can do the same thing 24 hours a day. The tutors who will survive are the ones who can do something AI genuinely cannot: build relationships, provide accountability, work with students who have learning differences, teach at the highest levels where the material itself is contested. Third, Graders and teaching assistants. Universities employ thousands of people to grade papers and provide feedback. AI grading is already being piloted at scale. Georgia Tech has been using AI for basic feedback for years. The accuracy is not perfect, but it is improving faster than most people realize. A TA at a major state school told me that his department is already discussing reducing TA allocations by 30% over the next 3 years. The remaining TAs will handle edge cases and student disputes. The routine work will be automated. Fourth, and this one surprised me, academic integrity officers. The people whose job is to catch cheating. Because here is the uncomfortable truth. AI-generated work is becoming almost impossible to detect reliably. The detection tools have high false positive rates. Students are learning to prompt in ways that evade detection. Universities are slowly realizing that they cannot win an arms race against generative models. Some are shifting to oral exams and in-class assessments. Others are quietly loosening their enforcement. Either way, the job of catching AI cheating is becoming both harder and less relevant. That role will shrink. Now I need to stop here because there is something bigger happening that most analysis of Chegg misses entirely. The collapse of Chegg is not just a story about one company that sold homework answers. It is a story about what happens when the fundamental promise of education starts to fracture. The implicit deal of education has always been, learn this material, prove you learned it, and you will be rewarded with credentials and opportunities. Chegg's entire business was built on exploiting a weakness in that system, the fact that proving you learned something often just meant submitting the right answers. AI does not just exploit that weakness. It obliterates it. When anyone can produce correct answers instantly, the answers stop being proof of anything. This is why universities are panicking. Not because students are cheating more, but because the entire assessment model, the way we verify learning, is breaking down. And nobody knows what to replace it with. Some schools are moving to oral exams. Some are shifting to project-based assessment. Some are just pretending the problem does not exist. But all of them are facing the same question. If AI can do the homework, pass the tests, and write the essays, what exactly are we measuring? This is the question that Chegg's collapse forces us to ask. And it does not have an easy answer. If you work in education technology, or you are considering a career in this space, here is what I would be thinking about right now. The companies that survive will be the ones that provide something AI structurally cannot. Human accountability. Genuine mentorship. Credentials that require in-person verification. Community and cohort experiences. Everything else is going to face relentless downward pressure on pricing and demand. If you are a student, understand that the skills you are building matter more than ever, but the way you prove those skills is going to change dramatically. The piece of paper is becoming less valuable. The ability to actually do the work, in front of someone, under observation, is becoming more valuable. Prepare accordingly. And if you are watching this and thinking that education is going to somehow be the exception, that schools and universities will resist these changes, I want you to consider what happened to Chegg. $14 billion to $90 million in 2 years. That is not gradual disruption. That is extinction. The question is not whether AI will transform education. The question is whether you will be positioned on the right side of that transformation when it accelerates. If you want to understand what that acceleration looks like, and how to navigate it, subscribe. More coming soon.